Have you enjoyed the Saxon math program and desired a similar methodology in language arts? Or maybe you are just looking for a solid grammar and writing program that teaches organized writing and comprehensive grammar skills while also adding in vocabulary, punctuation, and spelling. And all you would need to add is a literature component and handwriting to have a complete language arts program. Hi, I'm Gina, one of the curriculum consultants for Rainbow Resource Center, and I would like to give you a quick but in-depth look at grammar and writing. This program is neutral, meaning it doesn't have a Christian or secular viewpoint. Following an incremental and spiral approach, students are introduced to concepts incrementally or in seed form, which grow to contain more detail as the concepts are revisited. Lessons on a topic are not grouped into a chapter, but instead are spread out so learning happens in small doses. For example, the concept of irregular verbs is taught in small bits across 4 or 5 lessons spaced out over time with plenty of review along the way. The spiral approach is a subset of the traditional approach, which means concepts are explained and student retention is evaluated. At grades 3 to 5, expect a medium amount of teacher involvement, while students can be more independent at grades 6 and up. This program will attract visual learners because information is presented in the student text and circling, underlining, and diagramming is used to teach the grammar concepts. Diagramming exercises the brain and creates a strong visual aid as students are taught the different parts of a sentence and how they work together. This program is also largely all-inclusive. The only additional resources students need are a notebook to collect their ideas and a 3-ring binder with paper for journaling topics and dictation exercises. Let's talk about the grade levels. Grammar and writing is for students in grades 3 to 8. However, high school students would also find the 7th and 8th grade program useful because it thoroughly covers the skills needed for college board exams. You may wonder if it's okay to begin at your student's grade level. The answer is yes, as long as your student is reading on that grade level. You will not create any gaps due to this program's spiral structure. All content is thoroughly reviewed as it is built upon. Now let's move on to how the program is structured. There are between 140 to 150 grammar and writing lessons in each level. Around 110 are grammar and roughly 38 are writing. Since a typical school year consists of around 180 days, this gives you a little wiggle room to complete the course. In the recommended schedule, the writing lessons are inserted in between the grammar lessons, causing each week to look just a little different. There are always 5 consecutive days of grammar lessons. The 6th day consists of a short grammar test, usually completed in about 15 minutes, and a short writing lesson. Sometimes there may be 1 to 3 more days of writing lessons before going back to the 5 consecutive days of grammar lessons, if following the recommended schedule. Now, this is just one way to use the program. You may choose to implement the writing lessons in a completely different way, and that is perfectly okay. Grammar lessons begin with dictation or journal entries. Dictation is practiced on day 1 and 5, and journaling is done on days 2, 3, and 4. Spelling is taught through the dictation exercises and through lessons on spelling rules. Grade 3 contains lessons on spelling rules but does not include dictation or journaling. Although dictation exercises are valuable because children see the words in context and also practice correct sentence structure, these exercises can be considered optional if you would rather use a separate spelling program. On journaling days, these entries are considered free writing with the purpose of students overcoming writing block. Therefore, don't worry about correcting spelling in the journaling exercise. After dictation or journaling, 1 or 2 new vocabulary words are introduced, and there might be practice using these words in the student's exercise problems. Next, a new grammar concept is introduced with examples and practice problems pertaining to the new concept. As I mentioned earlier, the new learning is not overwhelming, but is delivered in small bits with clear instruction to help students understand and retain the information. And finally, at the end of the lesson, 30 review problems from previous lessons are done independently by the student. These review problems strengthen and reinforce the grammar and writing skills to make the information stick in the student's long-term memory. Reference numbers are placed by each problem in the review sets so students can refer back to the lesson where the topic was first introduced. As I previously mentioned, the writing instruction is found after about every 5 grammar lessons and usually correlates with a test day. These writing lessons include organized instruction with examples and hints, followed by a writing exercise. Both creative and academic writing are covered in all levels, with an increasing emphasis on research writing as the grades progress. Another really nice feature of this program is the cross-curricular content that is embedded in the examples and exercises. Each grade level has a separate theme with a different focus, including animals, states, British authors, American authors, fairy tales, folk tales, and U.S. government. All the dictation sentences will be focused on the theme of that grade level as well. Character lessons suggested by William Bennett's Book of Virtues are also woven throughout the curriculum. There are 3 components to this program: the student textbook, the teacher guide, and the writing workbook. As you look for this program on our website, you'll find a softcover and hardcover edition. Both of these editions come from Hake Publishing and include the exact same content. The only difference is the hardcover edition has a hardcover student text, and the softcover edition has a softcover student text. The teacher guide and writing workbook are softcover in both editions. This program was previously published by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt as the Saxon Grammar and Writing Homeschool Edition. While it sounds different, the content is nearly identical. In fact, if you do see another edition or publisher of this program, the content is the same, only a few writing lessons might have been changed at the end of the writing workbooks, particularly in grade 6. The student textbook includes all the daily grammar instruction, vocabulary words, practice problems related to the lesson, and review exercises. The journal topics and dictation sentences are in the appendix. Because of the incremental nature of the program, lessons should be done in order and not skipped. The textbook can be considered consumable if you want your student to write directly in the book. However, if you have multiple children or for resale purposes, you may want your student to use a separate sheet of paper. The teacher guide includes a suggested schedule, the answers to the textbook and test, the actual test, optional practice worksheets for some of the lessons, and answers to those worksheets. You will not find any instruction here. Again, all the instruction is in the student text. The optional practice worksheets provide additional practice or fun Mad Lib type activities. The writing workbook contains all the writing exercises. The suggested schedule in the teacher guide shows you what days to focus on the writing lessons. These lessons include how to write a good paragraph, outlining, brainstorming, essays, research papers, imaginative stories, responses to literature and informational text, summarizing, and poetry. Although in grade 3, students are taught beginning writing skills like how to write good sentences, different types of paragraphs, and how to write a chapter summary. Each writing lesson contains a self-evaluation checklist, which is super helpful to the student to ensure they are creating cohesive and organized content. Students can do their writing directly in the workbook or on a separate sheet of paper. Now that we've talked about the structure and each component, let's look at what 5 consecutive grammar lessons followed by a test and writing lesson might look like. We will look at grade 4, but each grade level will be organized in the same manner. In grammar lessons 46 through 50, students learn about indirect objects, the period, part 1, coordinating conjunctions, diagramming compound subjects and predicates, and the period, part 2. After these 5 grammar lessons, the 6th day is comprised of a test and writing lesson, and there happens to be one more writing lesson on day 7 before going back to another consecutive 5 days of grammar lessons. On day 1, students copy the dictation passage in the appendix to prepare for Friday's dictation test. This should take about 5 minutes. The expectation is that students will study this passage during the week and be prepared to write it from dictation with correct spelling and punctuation at the end of the week. After the dictation exercise, for the next 10 to 15 minutes, new teaching occurs. You will discuss the 2 new vocabulary words, zephyr, which is a gentle wind, and gale, which is a strong wind. Then you'll go over the lesson about indirect objects. After teaching the new concept, work through the example and practice problems together. There is also a practice worksheet in the teacher guide pertaining to indirect objects if the student needs more practice. For the next 20 to 25 minutes, students should work through the review set as independently as possible. On day 2, students look at the journal topic for the day and spend a few minutes free writing. Lesson 47's journal topic is, if you were to write a book someday, what kind of book would it be? Students should write at least 3 sentences in response. After journaling, talk about the 2 new vocabulary words, which are homophones, die, D-Y-E, and die, D-I-E. Then discuss the lesson about the period, such as where it belongs in sentences, initials, and outlines. Then complete the practice problems together. After this, the student works on the review set independently. On day 3 in lesson 48, the journal entry is, for what would you like people to remember you for someday? After journaling, again, there are 2 new vocabulary words, quill and quell, and the lesson is about coordinating conjunctions. Then there are a few practice problems to complete together and the review set for the student to complete independently. Day 4's journal entry is, write about why it is important to tell the truth. The vocabulary words are homophones, border, B-O-R-D-E-R, and border, B-O-A-R-D-E-R. Then the lesson teaches students to diagram compound subjects and predicates, work through the examples and practice problems, and do the additional practice sheet if necessary. Then students do the review set. Day 5, students can look over their sentences they copied on Monday before taking the dictation test. Then the dictation test is given, followed by vocabulary words where students learn the difference between ebb tide and flood tide. The new lesson explains how to use a period when writing abbreviations and decimals. After the lesson practice, an optional additional practice sheet is completed. Students work on the review set. Day 6 is test day, which consists of 25 problems reviewing previous concepts. Beside each problem is a lesson reference number from where the concept was first introduced. After the test, students can do writing lesson 11, which is about writing a complete essay. Keep in mind, students have been working up to this lesson by first learning how to write an effective sentence, then paragraph, then learning the different parts of an essay, even brainstorming ideas and using transition words. Students should feel very confident in writing their essay at this point. If following the recommended schedule, the next day's lesson will also be a writing lesson instead of a grammar lesson. Writing lesson 12 is evaluating the essay written in lesson 11. After this writing lesson, the student goes back to 5 consecutive days of grammar with grammar lesson 51. So this is one example of how you can use this program. But remember, no 2 children or families are the same. Do what works for you. Maybe your student needs extra time for each lesson, or maybe they will work faster. The program is very malleable, making it easy to fit your students' needs. Let's do a quick summary of grammar and writing. This is an academically solid language arts program for grades 3 to 8, covering grammar and punctuation, writing, and spelling. This program breaks down a complex subject into a very easy-to-use, approachable, segmented course that you can use without immersing yourself into a lot of teacher material and background information. It is recommended to use this program for a minimum of 2 years for a higher retention rate of the concepts. All you would need to add are literature and handwriting for a full language arts program. You can also choose to bring in a separate spelling program. If your student is struggling with spelling and you need to add more instruction or need a different approach, you might try All About Spelling, Spelling You See, or Sequential Spelling. If you desire an independent workbook where your student can review phonics rules with a weekly word list, you might look at Spelling Workout. Students can come in at grade level in this program as long as they are reading on grade level. Presenting the new concepts in small increments and providing continual review sets students up for success. Grammar and writing provides a strong foundation in language arts that will help students communicate effectively and confidently. I've enjoyed walking through this program with you. If you have any questions, feel free to call, chat, or email us. We are always happy to help and look forward to talking with you.